minutes to go, and it said if you leave, you will be punished. So we had to keep playing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's unfortunate. The more you play, that happens sometimes. The more you play, more often that'll balance out because the enemy team will also have levers too. Oh.
Yeah. Well, it didn't happen yet. I know it was just bad luck.
Make sure you're staying within range of your team. Every time somebody doesn't need healing, so pay very close attention to health bars, you should be looking to damage because that gets your heals back.
Oh yeah, I'm actually pretty good at that. There's the choke point. It's difficult.
All systems checked out. Game on. Damn it.
A touch from afar.
I need healing.
Allow me.
You are advised to move behind my back.
Taking possession of the objective. Objective A captured. Commence attack on objective B. Please allow me to repair the damage.
The battle continues.
Help me.
Barrier activated. Help me.
Okay, make sure we're using our damage orb off of cooldown every time we get an opportunity. And that there, when you're using Coalescence, they're using it when the people are there to use it on, right? Okay, so we did get the Hanzo. The heal orbs should only be used for burst healing most of the time. So if somebody's critical or you have multiple teammates who are critical, then you can throw a healing orb. But other than that, just rely on your normal healing and try to throw some damage orbs. Like I was saying, you want to be throwing those pretty much off of cooldown every time you get them. Or if you're out of healing, that's the other time you can throw heal orbs.
Okay.
This will heal you.
Right now, you need to be looking to damage as you're unable to heal unless you do. And good job using a heal orb for yourself. And there we walked into the dragon. Yep. So make sure we're watching out for it. So I think we're gonna have to focus a little bit on ability usage. We'll demonstrate some stuff after this round's done. But make sure with your fade that you're looking. A lot of time it looks like you're wasting it, because you're using it when there's really no reason to. So make sure you're looking to use it either when you're low HP or you see that you're getting shot at. Right. So you can use fade either for mobility or to negate damage. Just make sure you're not using it when you don't need it for either of those two purposes.
Surrender to my will.
Whenever you use Coalescence, throw an orb out before you use your coal, and then that way you just get the extra value out of the orb. Alright, yeah, we can leave this game. I'm going to screen share for you. I'll just demonstrate this. Alright, so from Moira here. First off, with our heal orbs, make sure that we're bouncing them off walls. So for example, if we go like this, then the orb's going to infinitely bounce back and forth so that it can heal our teammates. We can do that off walls, we can do that off ceilings. So for example, if we're just trying to find something like this, right, where we can just look up real quick, throw orb, and then now it does that, right? And the alternative is we throw it forward and it just goes off into infinity and we never see it again and it gets a lot less value. So even if, for example, there's nothing to bounce it off, like right here, there's no double bounce that we can get going, but we can single bounce it so that we're just throwing it against this wall so that it stays with us longer. Because if we're throwing it straight forward, we don't stay with it as long, whereas if we throw it sideways, it's going to go this way and then come back a little bit. And then I'm going to take some damage so you can see this, because it doesn't slow down if it's not actually healing.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't slow down until it hits a target.
So you can see that when we throw it off a wall here, it'll actually stay with us a lot longer than if we just throw it straight forwards. So look to be bouncing it off of like side to side, up and down, or if there's nothing that you can get that double bounce going on, you're just going to look to throw it off a nearby wall. Now, right when you're using it for the damage, you don't need to worry about that because really you want it to be traveling a lot of distance. With your heal orb, a lot of the time you want it to stay in one spot. With your damage orb, you want to be throwing it in. So with your damage orb, pretty much be looking to throw it in off of cooldown. Every time you get it, you're throwing a damage orb, and then if you need to, for healing, then you can throw the healing orb. So if your whole team is critical, or you need to burst heal somebody, or if you don't have any resource, right? So if we're at 0 resource, then
Right.
we need to look to use our heal orbs instead. Also, just in case you were under this impression, because I did have somebody else who was under the impression that that their damage orb gave them their resource back. That doesn't happen. I had another Moira player who thought that. So yeah, be looking to use your heal orb when you're out of that. Big thing is that we're looking to heal way too often. I'm noticing. Keep in mind
Well, it's because
that
every time I play Moira, they yell at me. You need to heal more. You need to heal more.
Which that's them not understanding the game correctly, because
Okay.
you're listening to advice from bronze players. Which if they had good advice, they wouldn't be in bronze. No offense to
Okay.
them.
No, that makes me feel so vindicated because like the comp game I did play Moira, I golded in damage and healing, and they're like telling me you didn't heal enough. I'm like, I feel like I did.
Yep. To be honest, like I mean, I can be the judge of that if you wanted to go over a game like that, but essentially, there's always something better that you can be doing. But for the most part, Moira is 50% damage, 50% healing. So you're gonna look to damage because if you look at your resource, that resource is gonna charge up very slowly. Oh, right. Unless we're damaging, where that's going to go much faster to where we're getting it back. So every time that we're not needing to heal somebody, so we look at their health bars and their full HP, we now go to damage to get that back up. They took some more damage. We tap them. We go back to the damage. Make sure that you're paying attention to health bars because we need to stop healing them when they're full HP, right? And then that way we're not wasting our resource. We want to make sure that we're not wasting our resource. Because a lot of time we're just going like this and they're full HP and we just keep going and then we stop. And then we also just kind of we chill there and just wait. And then we wait until they take damage and then we go back to the healing, which just means that we're wasting a lot of time where we could be doing other things like damaging. Now when you use Coalescence, 2 things here. First off, throw an orb before you go for it. That way you basically whatever you're using coal for. If you're using Coalescence for healing, then throw a heal orb to get that extra healing. If you're using it for damage, throw a damage orb to get the extra damage. Make sure you're in line of sight of people while you're using Coalescence, and your goal of using Coalescence is to line up as many people as possible. So you should be looking to position yourself to where you can see as many people as possible. So here we're going to look for damage, we're going to throw damage orb, and then we're going to look to line people up. So we're going to go like this. Okay, so we're positioning our body around them so that we're hitting multiple people at once. So there we are hitting 2 people at once. Now we're hitting 2 people at once again, right? So we got a lot more value because we're trying to hit multiple people rather than just one person. And keep in mind that can also be your teammates too. We can sit here and go behind our teammate, right, and damage while we're also healing, right?
There have been many matches where at the beginning I want to be like Moira's damage and healing.
Oh,
Don't
just say it to people, yeah.
Yeah, don't forget, I'm not a main healer. Especially with the way they changed her resource gathering.
Yep.
Recently.
Yeah, you need to be damaging a lot more often than you did before, or at least it's different. You're going to be before you did what was called you tap heal them and then they'd heal over time and then you just look away and do other things, but now it's a little bit different where you're gonna just hold your heal on people a lot more. Oh, that's unfortunate.
The booper booped himself.
Activating the barrier.
Ability increased. This is my will.
I need healing.
Yes, I'm working on it.
The objective is
Repairing the damage.
If your team, make sure you're not always sitting down your team, even if they're in a bad spot. You can push forward a little bit, just so you can just start damaging, even if your team's not pushing in. So if your team's all sitting on bridge, right, and you're trying to get past bridge, what you can do is just fade through, and just sit on maybe like behind some cover, right? That way you can still be doing damage while your team's on bridge and you maybe are still in range of healing them. But where you were angled, you weren't able to really do anything until your team pushed, which they're not gonna push in bronze.
this will improve your condition.
So here, this is where you just be spam throwing a damage orb in. You just want to make sure that you're constantly getting that off. That gives you a lot of ult charge. Makes you take an extra second to aim it.
I'm under attack. Damn. A touch from afar. I will rebuild you.
I welcome adversity.
The power of this.
Well, unfortunate. Make sure you're paying attention. This is why it's not a good idea to sit on bridge. That's why, because it's very easy to get booped off. So when you're on bridge, make sure you're looking around you, you're paying attention to what's going on around you, and then you're also trying to get past bridge as fast as possible.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Roadhog. I'm going whole hog.
My ultimate is ready. Proceed.
My will made real.
Meteor strike. Pass into the
Surrender
iris.
to my will.
Alright, so make sure you're using your ultimate at some point, right? Ultimates that don't get used don't get value. Because it's the difference between zero value and some value. Even if it's not a fantastic ultimate, it's still better than nothing. So make sure you're using your ultimate more often. If your team's not going anywhere, you can push in on your own and try to do something. Look to damage maybe more often. Look to do your own thing. I think I can demonstrate this when we go and play with our quick play together. I can demonstrate to you kind of how you can effectively DPS on Moira, even if your team's not doing anything, because you can create space on your own by doing that damage.
Barrier activated.
This is my will. This will improve your condition. I'm under attack. Damn. That's much better. The objective of power.
Okay, good orb. Make sure you're swapping the healing when you see people are critical. So if you're Reinhardt, right, he's critical, make sure you're swapping to the healing. Really, really watch those health bars. Oh, let's Fash the Stampede. It's from an anime.
Preparing to engage.
Okay, right now we can probably be pushing him just slightly because if we start getting pressured, all we have to do is just fade back the point, right? So we can push forward, look to throw a damage orb, and then look for some damage too. Okay, right now we're just kind of right-clicking nothing. So make sure we're looking around for something to right-click. We're not just right-clicking air. So look around, look at the different entrances where you know people are at. That comes under crosshair placement. If you don't see anyone out in the open, no one's just going to magically appear there, right? So you need to be placing your crosshair more towards doorways and towards where people are actually going to come from.
Who's he? Who?
Allow me. Surrender to my will. Help me. Damn.
keep in mind you can get much more aggressive when you have your ultimate up, as you will have both self healing and extra speed. So you'll have a lot more survivability when you have that. Okay. There we're standing a little too far open on point. Did we go over cover last time we had a session?
Yeah.
Cover usage, right? Make sure. Go ahead.
Just in this, I guess in this chaos of trying to keep point,
Well,
I'm just...
as Moira, you're not in charge of contesting point. You have your whole
Okay.
team that can
Okay.
contest point. If you see that they're about to cap, then go and
Oh.
touch. That's unfortunate. Okay. If you see they're about to cap, then you can go and contest point.
Okay.
But besides that, you don't need to be on point. So what you can do is sit in the doorways, and then maybe that's a little bit more of a better position to hold where you're not going to take as much damage.
Round 2.
Power of destruction.
Space if your team's, because on that first map you could see there's a big difference with your team play, was your team never made it past bridge. They never pushed forward, and then that meant you weren't able to do anything. So
Right.
in a situation like that in bronze, that means that you need to go and create your own kind of create your own space. So
Should I have gone
go
the
ahead.
back way and maybe go through the back in that map and tried that, or faded forward to the house?
The other thing you can do is you could have faded forward to the house. You could have gone behind them. You can actually fade across the edge there, and kind of do a jump across the edge, which is something you could have done. But yeah, I'll show you basically what you can do for just when it comes to DPSing. Okay, nice swap the healing. Watch your health. Right, make sure you're paying attention to that, because that's where you need to be throwing health orb on yourself. Make sure you're bouncing off a wall, right, not just throwing straight forwards.
Get into position.
Right, just watch the health orb go off into nothingness.
Right,
so
right.
that's an example of where you just bounce it off something, or throw a damage orb there, because I don't even think a health orb was really necessary. Keep in mind that the damage orb's not only going to give you long range damage, but it's also going to give you burst damage. So you'll be doing like 2 times the amount of damage if you're shooting at somebody and then all of a sudden you throw an orb at them too. Okay, there we're too far on the open, and we had both of our abilities. So that's a situation where we didn't use our abilities, and we also had bad positioning. So make sure we're looking to use the abilities and get good positioning as well.
Into the iris.
I'm under attack. Restoring you. Surrender to my will.
Or before you use it,
Damn.
also wait a little bit longer till you guys are actually on point, because there you weren't able to shoot at anything, right?
My will made real.
Experience.
Regenerating your cellular structure.
Unfortunate. So right now we want to be backing up. Yep, just throw in a throw a healing orb.
Repair the damage.
Make sure you're on healing, right, when people are critical.
Oh,
Assistance would be appreciated.
I will rebuild.
She not a shield.
Into the iris.
Unfortunate. That one's one of the deaths where not every death you're gonna have something that you can learn from. That one was
Right.
more like you just got spammed. You were next to good cover, and I'm pretty sure you got one shot as well.
Everyone's dead.
Yep. So you just wait for him to come back, try not to die in the meantime. Throwing a damage orb, right? Just make sure it's constantly coming out. It's a 10-second cooldown, so every 10 seconds we're just looking to do something with it. And now we have 0
From afar.
healing, so we should be throwing healing orbs in that scenario, plus also make sure we're looking for damage now, right?
Ligam Karula.
Overtime.
Get into the surrender to my will. This is my will.
Okay. Remember, your orb is gonna go in a straight line unless you bounce it off of something. So you're looking to throw it to where it's sticking with you or the enemy, right, as long as possible. So if McCree's gonna jump off high ground
Will improve your
in a second, then that means that we probably not gonna want to throw it at him, straight at him, right? So throw it in the direction where you know he's moving.
I cast this forth.
Like there, for example, again, right, throw it behind the Reinhardt if he's moving backwards, not, you know, to the side of him. And that way it sticks with him for a longer period of
This
time.
will heal you.
Like, because I'm moving in one direction, and I know I'm going to be moving in that direction. So wouldn't I just throw the orb in that direction since I'm moving that way?
For the self heals?
Touch from
Yeah.
afar.
Yes.
Okay,
Unless
okay.
it like, but if you're just sitting still, right, then you might want to bounce off a wall.
I cast this forth.
Dein Schutzengel ist da.
Oh my.
Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go?
Make sure you're with your team there. Weren't really with your team, and that meant that we weren't able to really heal anybody.
Always nice. Colleague at work.
Restoring you. Surrender to my will.
Nice, you saw me, he was out of position. That was good timing with your ult usage.
Touch from afar.
Der Kampf ist noch
The
nicht vorbei.
payload has
Helden
reached the
sterben
checkpoint.
nicht.
Make sure you're putting yourself in a range to do things. As Moira, you're a close range character, so you're not going to be able to damage if you're too far away, you're not going to be able to heal if you're too far away. So make sure you're a little bit closer to your team and to the fight in general. If he's on top of you, right, and you're low, that's a situation where we'd be heal orbing, right?
I meant to.
Step to this.
Perhaps a new methodology is required. My will.
Now, hold on.
Guinea pigs.
Hey, very nice.
I'm almost dead.
Circuits engaged.
My condition is improved.
Here, we can probably use Fade to get to the fight faster, right? Use as
I
mobility.
was waiting. Yeah, I was planning it. I swear.
Oh, very good situation to use an orb in, right? Because you know there's a clump of people who are probably going to take a bunch of damage. And now our team's getting super aggressive using a lot of ults. We have a big advantage. We want to just to push forward really aggressively and use our damage. Did we talk about how to read fights
Damn.
last time?
We did not.
No. Oh, what did you say before that?
The payload.
I didn't see anyone to orb.
Oh, yeah, just like that. That I was just saying, just push forward and look for people. So yeah, we'll talk about that after this game's done.
My will made real.
Payload's in my possession and moving out. Smoke 'em out of there.
I cast this forth. Touch from afar. I will draw the strength. Surrender.
Very nice. Get aggressive with it. Aggro, aggro, aggro. You can push really far because you got picks. We'll talk about that, like, you know, after we're done here.
This will heal you.
When McCree's low like that, yep, just finish him off. Watch his health bar, because it's better to finish him off there if that'll just stop him from doing damage.
Power of destruction. Strength grows.
Really great damage this game.
I definitely feel more in control.
Here, we probably want to be looking to back up, and again, this is something we'll talk about when we go over how to know if a fight's won or lost. But just this fight's lost, so we need to look to back up. Because then look what happens there is look at where our team's at. They're super far pushed forward while we're in spawn, and that means that they're going to be likely to die too. And then that starts what's called a stagger train. So what you did there was it was called staggering. You're going to end up just not. You're going to be super far behind your team. They're going to go in without you, and then that's a time waster. And it's going to put you at your team at a disadvantage. So after you've won or lost a fight, look to group up, right? So back up or die, and then that way you're grouping back up with your team. Oh.
This will improve your condition.
Good heal swap and damage swap. Again, make sure if our team's super far forward, make sure we're pushing up with them, right? So that we can be within range of our right click. We want to be within the range of our right click, probably like most of the time. We want to be able to right click at a moment's notice.
Check this out. Raising the volume. Oh, let's
My
break it.
will be real.
And when you have beat available, you just want to be a little bit aggro with it. But that was a situation, I believe, where you didn't have any teammates. So that's that. Again, that's it. We'll talk about that after this game's done. That's where you don't push aggressively.
It appears we have suffered a minor setback.
Don't try to focus Valking Mercies like you when you coalescence. She gets self heals and she has very, very fast mobility. So she's not going to be an easy target to kill. So unless she's low, or or you see that your team's focusing her, then don't even try to go for her. Because you can just go for a better target besides that.
I'm not dead yet.
Here it comes.
This will heal you.
Good heal orb.
Allow me.
Огонь по готовности.
I require
I got back into it.
Yep, just didn't get far enough away from it. Remember, when you're out of resource, even though you need to be healing there, you need to be damaging because you don't actually have any heals to heal with, right? So when you're out of resource, we need to be going for the damage. Instead of running straight away, look to go to the side, right? And then you can very easily just kind of dodge it out.
my will.
When you're running away from a bull, you run to the side, you don't run in a straight line. When you run away from a train, right? You don't run in a straight line away from the train, you run to the side, right? When Reinhardt's charging, he goes in pretty much a straight line. He can curve a little bit, but that's it. Right now, if you know he's that low, what you can do is just run up to him and melee him, right? That way you can get through his shield, or you can throw an orb at him.
Always nice to see a colleague at work.
That was funny. Where are you? Where are you? There you are.
Time to accelerate.
Good awareness.
The payload is approaching.
Moira doesn't have fade, so you can very easily punish her here. Yep.
Thank you for your contribution.
Dragon consume you.
Raising the volume.
Hi, I think that's like the best I've seen you play so far. So I'm gonna screen share again if you want to
Okay.
go take a look. So we're going to go over some additional stuff here, as well as the other thing. Actually, what was the thing I wanted to demonstrate? I don't know if there was something.
Reading a
Yeah,
game.
but I'm trying to think. The reading a team fight doesn't require me to be in the practice range. I don't know why I wanted to go in the practice range. I don't know if there was anything. I guess just know that I'll go over one thing here while we're here. Oh, I wanted to go over ranges. Okay, so just keep in mind that with your fade, you can cover a lot of distance with it, right? So, or actually, I guess we can do it when there's a thing there. You can cover a lot of distance with it. You can use it as kind of a jump, right, to cover big gaps of space. So we can probably get up to this Hyagon tier just by jumping and crossing, right? So we can use this to, for example, on Lijiang, you know how there's a big ring around the point, right? We can use this to cross that gap where we're just kind of leaping across. So you jump and you fade, and then you can do that. The other thing you can do with jump is, I don't know if this works necessarily. Okay, maybe not. This is what
It's hard to. I know what you're trying to do,
yeah.
and I've tried, and I don't know if I'm clicky enough to do that.
Yeah, that requires a bit of tech. I don't know if you can actually do it off of this one. I know you can do this. I know you can do that with a Doomfist punch, but I don't know if you can do that with the regular fade. What I wanted to show you here is the range of your abilities, or your primary and your secondary fire. So with your right click, you can right click up to what is this, 20 meters, or is it? I think it's actually 25 meters.
I think it is. It's 20
No,
or
it's 20.
25.
It's 20. Okay, so you see, I can't right click here and move into this range, 20 meters, right? Now I can right click. Okay, so make sure that you're always within this 20-meter range, because if you're not, or at least, as long as you're not pushing forward when your whole team's dead, then you want to be in this range during a fight so that you can be getting damage in and getting resource back for your team if you need to. Now with your healing, I believe this is 15 meters. So here, 15 meters, I can heal, right? You see their health bar going up. But if I back
Oh,
up,
I didn't know it was that far.
but if I back up, now I can't heal. Alright, so make sure that we're within that range of healing of our team, and we're within this range of damage to the enemy team, right? Because a lot of the time, especially the damage one, is we're very far out of their line of sight a lot of the time. Now moving on to knowing when a fight is won or lost. So for that, you need to look to kill feed. Kill feed is very, very important to be paying attention to, so you want to make sure that you're constantly checking it. If your team is up 1 to 2 people, so you get 1 to 2 picks, that means that you have an advantage, right? So you can play aggressive, because when they have less people, they have less people to shoot at you, they have less people to heal, they have less people to tank. So that means that you will be able to push forward more aggressively without getting punished as hard. So push forward when you are up to 1 to 2 people, get aggressive. When you get 2 to 3 picks, that is where now that is pretty much a one fight. Okay, that means you want to play super aggressive. You want to be pushing forward to pick up the stagger kills, right? You want to get the staggers. You want to push forward really hard. At that point, when you're up 2 to 3 people, you do not want to be using your ultimate, because in a one fight, if you already won the fight, why would you use an ultimate, right? So that's when it is a 6v3 or a 6v4. Most of the time in a 6v3 or 6v4 scenario, the team that has more people will just win just because they have more people. Okay, so now this also goes the exact opposite way. If they get 1 to 2 picks, right, we lose 1 to 2 players on our team, that is a disadvantage. We want to be playing more passive. We are losing the fight. We didn't lose the fight yet, though. We can still bring this back if we get picks if we get counter picks. Now, if we're down 2 to 3 people, on the other hand, that is where we have pretty much lost the fight. We want to be making sure that we are trying to get out. Look, see if you can get out. How far away are we from the exit, right? Can they catch up to us? Are they going to kill us? If we know that we cannot get out, then you're going to look to die as fast as possible so that you're not staggering yourself. And we discussed staggering before. Staggering is when you are basically you're wasting time for your team. They might end up going in without you, and then that causes a stagger train where you guys just keep going. And it's a snowball effect where it just keeps happening because you guys keep pushing out without each other. So you don't want to stagger, so you want to either get out or die. And then also when you've lost a fight, you don't want to be using ultimates, right? You can use an ultimate at any point as long as the fight has started and no team has won or lost. Okay, but twice in the last game that we played, we had used our ultimate when we didn't have any teammates with us, which is just not good for us, because that means that we're probably not going to win the fight even if we do use our ultimate.
Okay.
Okay, so you can probably go ahead and hop into another game. Good.
Couple clarifying questions.
Mhm.
All right, so checking the kill feed. That's tab.
No,
correct?
top right of your
Okay.
screen.
Top right of my screen.
It'll show when people are killed, and which team does that.
Okay. All right. That makes it. And then you've mentioned the word pick a couple times.
Picks, so get a kill.
Pick. Okay. That's
Yep.
what I thought, but I wanted to make sure.
Yep, that's
Okay.
fine. Just confirming. Yep. Pick as in
Okay.
the team gets 1 to 2 kills.
Okay.
Commencing. Capture objective A.
Enemy contact.
No need to mess about. Victim Karula.
Remember here, we're looking to push forward, right? Be kind of right behind your tanks. And you're looking to get within your right click range, right? 20 meters.
I cast this forth. Science saves the day.
Get out! Oh!
Okay, and there you see, like, now we haven't been within that 20-meter range. We haven't been able to damage, and that means that now we just don't have any resource at all. So we really, really need to make sure we're focusing on getting that damage in, because we just have no resource anymore. Why don't you stay in that left room, and then you can actually damage the people through that little doorway right there, right? And that puts you within the range.
It's just such a they have it's such a bad room to be in though with Farah.
As long as you're not, as long as you like you have your fade ready and your health orb ready and you're standing against the doorway, it shouldn't be too dangerous. Oh, okay, we died with our abilities, right? Big no. Use abilities before
We
you
got
die.
flanked from all directions.
Oh yeah, well I mean fade, you just fade out of the room and then now you're good,
True.
right? And heal orb, right? Heal orb and then now you're doing much better because you have more health. So dying with your abilities is always gonna be a big no, especially on Moira, because Moira's abilities just give her a lot of survivability.
This will improve your condition.
Okay, good damage. If you need to, you can use Fade to get to people faster if they're like critical or low HP and you're far away from them. That is a situation. Okay, here we want to be looking to use our ultimate, right? Because we're pushing into the fight.
Surrender to my will. Help me.
Very good.
There you are.
Yep, just look up when you're looking for the Farah. So, I think we're going to go over awareness at this game.
I'm on fire. All evidence supports this claim. Restoring you.
Objective A captured.
Nerve this.
Touch from afar.
All systems checked out.
Enemy contact must ensure the payload's progress. This is my will.
Establishing defense point.
Oh, huge juke. Whenever you're fading, just look to get around corners, because you can break line of sight, and they'll also lose them where they don't know where you went. So whenever you're fading to get away from people, try to get around the corner.
Victim Karula. I cast this forth. Surrender to my will.
Look to focus the easiest targets to kill. So a lot of the time that's going to be the squishiest target. So Mercy, for example, right, is going to be really, really easy to kill in comparison to a tank.
Feels really bad there.
Yep, just a little bit too aggressive. Typically don't want to walk into them.
No, that's bad.
But yeah, probably when you're trying to do damage, you're not gonna want to focus tanks. You're gonna want to focus the supports if they're next to each other, right? Or if the tanks are low or out of position, then it's fine to focus them. But other than that, go for the people who are much easier to kill. Good fade reaction time. It's probably a good idea to make sure that you're fading backwards rather than forwards. That way you're not putting yourself in an even worse position.
Stun me.
We must all make sacrifices in the name of science. Get here. Get into position.
So what's happening right now is you guys are staggering. You guys keep going in without each other, and that just means that you keep end up dying.
ready. This will restore you.
Oh. So we're lacking on the damage, right? And that means we're lacking also in the healing. So make sure we're looking to damage, and then also we can probably look to use our ultimate at whenever the fight starts again.
Surrender.
Just use it. I gotta get out of this.
Remember, there's a left
That was
entrance.
stupid.
There's a left and the right entrance in spawn. Also throw an orb before you go. Also don't try to face tank 4 people, right?
I must
Um,
reflect upon this.
So you can use your orb, but maybe try to come out of a different entrance so that they're not all already looking at you.
Activating self-destruct sequence.
Hold up.
Nerf this. Suiting up.
The power of destruction.
I'll show them. Boosters engaged.
Your strength fades. I cast this forth.
I should have healed.
Watch out behind you. Behind you.
I have a.
Mercy behind you. Yep.
Oh, okay.
From afar.
Yep. I can just tell that from the audio, right? So make sure you're listening out for footsteps and shooting sounds and whatnot, as that will help you locate people very easily. Right now, I have my audio at 25%, which usually have the at like 80. So this is like a fourth of what I usually have it at, and I can still hear the Mercy because I'm listening for it. So make sure you're listening for footstep sounds. You're listening for shooting sounds, and even if you maybe think it's your teammates, it's still better to check than not to check.
60 seconds remaining.
It's Hanu.
A touch from afar.
Make sure you're sticking with your team. You're really far away from our team there. Right? If you're away from your team,
Yeah.
you can't heal them and they can't protect you.
I must reflect upon this.
30 seconds.
Cease your resistance. We do not have time to wait. Attack now.
Okay, look at where your team's at.
They're all dead.
Yep, exactly. So make sure we're paying attention to that and we're not pushing too far forward when our whole team's dead. But look at the time bank. Who's gonna touch point? Oh. Didn't look at the time bank. So when we see that there's 10 seconds left and we see none of our teams back, that might mean that it might be a good idea for us to get into a position to where we can go try to touch point, right? So go up through castle, look to touch at the very last second. So what we're going to go over now is awareness. So awareness is just knowing what's going on around you. It's you being aware of your environment. Now, us on just playing the game, right? You can compare this to like real life. So if you go through real life and you never turn your head, right? And you never use your peripheral vision and you never listen to anything, you're gonna have a very, very hard time, right? You're gonna have a hard time with work. You're gonna have a hard time with anything that you're trying to do. You're gonna get hit by a car or something like that, right? So, in the same way, in game, we need to make sure that we're looking around us. So we're turning our head, we're looking left, right, behind us, doing a 360 once in a while, looking up in the air if we know they have a Pharah. So we need to be aware of what's going on around us by looking. We need to use our peripheral vision to not just stare at our crosshair, but also look at what's our health bar looking like, what's the cooldown on our abilities, what's the kill feed looking like, okay, how much time they have left in the time bank, what's my ult charge at, right? All these things add up to information, and when we get all this information, right, and when you have good awareness, you inherently are going to be making better decisions, because when you don't have information to go off of, you will be, again, inherently making bad decisions because you don't have a clue what's happening. So how can you, come up with a plan to, fix what's happening if you don't know what's going on? So if we're looking around, if we're looking using our peripheral vision, and we're also listening and listening for footsteps, especially if we know that they have flanker characters, they will probably be going on flanks and going to the side of us. We want to make sure that we're listening out for footsteps and shots and looking at our flanks too, not just always staring forward. So awareness comes down to making sure that we're looking around and listening and not just kind of going around staring at things.